Welcome into Locked On Phillies. The Phils, 4-game sweep of the Nationals. They've won 10 of their last 11. They're streaking towards the playoffs, and they're one of the hottest teams in baseball. It's going to be a fun episode of Locked On Phillies.
You are Locked On Phillies, your daily Philadelphia Phillies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, this is Locked On Phillies. I'm your host, Connor Thomas. Been talking Phils baseball for years over on 97.5 The Fanatic on the radio. Now, happy to be here with you as your host of Locked On Phillies. I want to thank you for making Locked On Phillies your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And today's episode is brought to you by Vroom. With Vroom, you can buy a car entirely online and have it delivered straight to you, so you never have to go to a dealership again. So next time you need to buy a car, just grab your phone, go to vroom.com, and check out thousands of great cars. Now that we've got all that out of the way, let's talk a little bit of shop, because I haven't talked to you guys since last week, and a lot has happened. First of all, I got this cool new Locked On hat, Locked On podcast hat there, and Mr. Broom's back because the Phillies had a 4-game sweep of the Washington Nationals. The Phils have now won 10 of their last 11 games. They've won 11 of their last 13 games. They're on absolute fire right now, and they've only lost twice since getting swept by the Chicago Cubs to start the second half post All-Star break. Both of those losses come to the Atlanta Braves, but the Phillies won one series with the Braves, split one, and then back-to-back, or not back-to-back, but 2 4-game sweeps, one at the hands of the Pittsburgh Pirates and one Washington Nationals 4-game sweep. That just happened. Now, we've already covered the Pittsburgh Pirates 4-game sweep. Let's talk about what happened in the series with the Washington Nationals, because a bunch of things to take stock in over the past 4 games since the weekend went on. So we'll start with, Thursday's night's game was a rain-shortened one. Not much to say about that. Got called in the 5th inning. The Philadelphia Phillies win by a score of 5-4. Now, judging by the other games, they would have won even if they had played this one out, because the Nationals are that bad. Noah Syndergaard did not look good in his first start as a member of the Philadelphia Phillies. Gave up a bunch of hits in that one. 4 runs given up, charged to Syndergaard. It was just not his day. Now, do I think that means he's going to stink as a member of the Philadelphia Phillies? No. Sometimes the nerves in a first start are tough, especially when you're joining a playoff contending team. So, hey, maybe that's it. Maybe he just didn't have his stuff. Like, you think about what goes through the mind of someone who's moving not just from different teams, coast to coast, from the Los Angeles Angels to the Philadelphia Phillies. The trouble of moving and traveling all the way over, taking the long cross-country plane flight, and you say, okay, well, teams do that when they travel on the road. It's different when you've gotten traded and you've got that stuff on your mind. So not the most perfect conditions for Syndergaard to throw in. We'll see what he does when he pitches against the Miami Marlins coming up this Wednesday. But, hey, a win's a win. Then all the Phillies did the rest of the way. Well, they won Kyle Gibson's start on Friday against Josiah Gray. They won 7-2. Just absolutely ran it up Friday. Rhys Hoskins homered again in the first inning in that one. Rhys Hoskins homered in all 4 games of this series against the Washington Nationals. They have to hate him down there. But a great performance by the Philadelphia Phillies in a 7-2 win over the Washington Nationals on Friday night, following up that rain-shortened game on Thursday. And Gibson was so good. Hoskins hit a home run. Nick Castellanos hit a bomb of a home run. Derek Hall hit a home run in that one. JT Realmuto hit a home run in that one. All of those before the 3rd inning was over. 3 in the first, and then another home run in the 3rd. Kyle Schwarber got in on the party in the 7-0. Philadelphia Phillies, well, they gave up a couple runs in the 8th and the 9th, but shut the door down. They win 7-2 Friday against the Nationals. Saturday's game, if you thought 7-2 was something, well, Saturday's game was just as fun, if not more so. They ended up winning 11-5. A couple more runs given up to the Nationals, but 11 runs on the board for your Philadelphia Phillies, and they stayed scorching hot at home. Rhys Hoskins homered to left field in the bottom of the first. It's his 3rd straight first-inning home run at that point. Didn't play first base in game 4 of the series. He did homer in that one, but he went ahead and did so as a designated hitter later in the game. Matt Vierling hit a home run in this game, in Saturday's game. Bryson Stott with a triple to clear two guys off the bases, Gene Segura and Edmundo Sosa both score. JT Realmuto then tripled in the second inning. This is all like first and second inning stuff. Alec Boehm scores in 7-0 in the second. Nick Castellanos an RBI single in the second. It's 8-0. Edmundo Sosa an RBI double in the second inning. It's nothing, and that game's already over when it's 9-0 in the second. Now, the Nationals in the sixth inning scored 4 runs. I believe they were all off Nick Nelson there as he came in relief of Kyle Gibson, who was making that, Ranger Suarez, who was making that start. Kyle Gibson, by the way, just a beautiful performance on Friday night, taking a perfect game into the 7th inning. And he was absolutely dominant. We have a discussion about him coming up in the second segment and how he fits in with Noah Syndergaard and Ranger Suarez. Now, we will discuss all that. But JT Realmuto got in on the homer party in this game, a triple and a home run in Saturday's game for Realmuto, seating up to make it 11-4 Phillies in the sixth. The seventh, the Nationals got one back, and it ends 11-5, the scoring ending there. And then, well, the Phillies had a chance to win the 4-game series, sweep the 4-game series. They had already won it with the first 3 wins, but they went for the sweep with Aaron Nola on the mound yesterday, and Nola was his vintage dominant self. It ended in a 13-1 win for the Philadelphia Phillies. They absolutely boat raced the Nationals for the 3rd straight game. Possibly would have been the 4th straight game if the first game wasn't shortened by rain. Derek Hall hit a home run to left field. In opposite field, 367-foot home run. It shows that he has power to all fields as a young player. It's wonderful. Bottom of the 3rd, Alec Boehm walks in a run with the bases loaded. Nick Maton homers to right in the 4th, scoring Garrett Stubbs. Reese Hoskins homers to left in the 4th, his 4th home run in this series, scoring Kyle Schwarber. Derek Hall hit his 2nd home run of the game, his first multi-home run game, second multi-home run game. He had 2 early in his time being called up. One was off a position player, though. I'm trying to remember who that was against. Was that against the Cubs? It might have been. I'm not sure, but Derek Hall had a multi-home run game yesterday for the Philadelphia Phillies. Cesar Hernandez in the 5th inning, was the only person to notch an RBI for the Nationals with an RBI single, but everything settles down after that. Nick Maton had an RBI single in the 7th. Maton, who was called up in favor of Jairo Munoz, who was optioned down to AAA. Bryson Stott scored on that one. Brandon Marsh had himself a solid weekend in his first weekend as a member of the Phillies. Bryson Stott had an RBI double after that to make it 11-1 in the 8th. Brandon Marsh singled to center, scoring Bryson Stott after that in the 8th, making it 12-1. And then Nick Maton, more RBIs, doubling to deep right center, scoring Brandon Marsh. So I'm going to do some quick math here on the series numbers and the run differential between these two teams because it's preposterous. Even counting the rain-shortened first game, the Philadelphia Phillies put up a total, so 5, 12, 23, 36 runs in a 4-game series with the Washington Nationals and only allowed 12. 36-12, a run differential of 24 runs over the course of a 4-game series. Now, I know what you're saying out there. The Nationals are a AAA team. They're absolutely terrible. They shouldn't compete at the major league level at all for the rest of the year after trading Juan Soto and Josh Bell. And really, their only good players left being maybe Cesar Hernandez, Nelson Cruz, but he's just a guy who hits home runs. It doesn't really help you when no one's on base and you can work around him. They're not a competitive team. But the Phillies are going to play a lot of teams under 500 the rest of the way. If they can handle bad teams like they handled the Nationals this weekend, this team they're bound for a playoff spot. I've been telling you for a month now, this team is a playoff team. I've been telling you it. I saw it. I saw it coming. I knew it was going to be a thing, and they are proving me right. They're bringing back Mr. Broom for the second time in the second half already, and it's just a wonderful setup. Now, we're going to talk at some point this week about a tougher stretch that they have coming up. They play the Marlins, and then they've got the Mets, and some pitching matchups look very difficult. So we'll see how legitimate this stretch is by the Philadelphia Phillies and how the new faces look, this new Philadelphia Phillies team with the additions of Brandon Marsh and Noah Syndergaard and Edmundo Sosa and David Robertson, who was great in a couple relief appearances this weekend. We'll see how it goes, but right now, excitement's through the roof with the Philadelphia Phillies. It's absolutely awesome. If you follow me on Twitter, you can see my Twitter here on the YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, at Connor Thomas 975. If you're not watching on YouTube, you should definitely check it out. You get to see Mr. Broom back there. Subscribe, lock everything in. You help us put together a better show when you join us on the YouTube and share your comments or subscribe and let me know what you're thinking there. But if you're checking it out, you can see my Twitter account. And if you follow me on Twitter, if you follow Locked On Phillies on Twitter at LO_Phillies, you know just how excited I've been about this team. It is a wonderful time to be a Philadelphia Phillies fan. And the expectations now, well, they turn to the MLB playoffs and the playoff push. But coming up next, I think some people may be setting expectations too high, even though playoffs are now the expectation. I think there's a proper way to handle this so we don't end up annoyed at success. I'll explain coming up next on today's Locked On Phillies. Listen, there's going to be a lot of people on the Washington Nationals or in that organization that are looking for jobs this offseason. The Phillies just proved that to you. And the Phils are gearing up for fall in that they're looking for the postseason. But maybe you're gearing up for fall and you need the right people on your team to help your small business fire on all cylinders. You don't want to be the Washington Nationals of your industry. LinkedIn Jobs is here to make it easier for you, though. And it's easier to find the people that you want to talk to faster and for free. You can create a free job post in minutes on LinkedIn Jobs. You can reach your network and beyond to the world's largest professional network. Over 810 million people. Add the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile so people who see it know that you're looking to hire. And there's simple tools like screening questions that make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidates you want to talk to faster. Nearly 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn every week. So post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonmlb. That's linkedin.com/MLB to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Okay, so the Philadelphia Phillies are in the playoff race. They're in playoff position. Everything looks good for a red October coming up. And there's still a ways to go. Things need to play out, and the Phillies need to continue to play really, really well. But it's starting to look like 90 wins is a realistic potential thing for this team. So, hey, it's all good, right? Well, now our attention has to shift to the playoffs. So I had an interesting conversation today over at 97.5 The Fanatic on the radio. I was talking with some of the guys on the John Kincaid show, our morning show, that I'm a part of and that we do every morning over there from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. So I'm up at 4 a.m. every day, and I always look tired, but it's all good. So I was talking to the guys over there at the John Kincaid show, and some of them were saying that the Phils now, you're focused on the second wild card spot and potentially chasing down that. The first wild card spot and moving up and getting home field advantage. So right now, let's just talk about where the Phillies stand. They're firmly in the second wild card spot right now. And by firmly, I mean they're a half game up on the San Diego Padres. The three teams that are in the wild card positions are the Atlanta Braves, who are 3.5 games up on the Philadelphia Phillies. The Phillies, who are a half game up on the San Diego Padres, and the Padres, who are a game and a half up on the Milwaukee Brewers. Now, here's the issue with looking at the second wildcard spot, looking at the first wildcard spot, taking care of everything there. What I don't want to happen for you out there is I don't want anyone to be disappointed with the Philadelphia Phillies making the playoffs. And that's what I think looking at the second or the first wildcard spot will do for you. The Philadelphia Phillies have not made the playoffs in over a decade. They're firmly in position to do so now, and while there's still work to do, it looks like they're going to end up in the mix for the playoffs. In the mix, I mean in the actual playoffs. But look at the teams that they're competing against. First of all, the division leaders, the Dodgers, the Mets, the St. Louis Cardinals. Okay, well, you can't help with that because you're not going to catch the Mets. The Mets are way up. They're 10.5 games up on you in the division. The Dodgers are going to run away with the NL West. And the St. Louis Cardinals, well, they're tight with the Milwaukee Brewers, but one of those teams is going to win that division. I'd imagine the other one of those teams is going to miss the playoffs, judging by the difficulty of their schedule and the quality of those teams. I don't think either the Cardinals or Brewers are as good as the Philadelphia Phillies. You look at the teams, though, in the wild card. Atlanta is a better team than the Philadelphia Phillies. I know the season series is tied at 6-6, and the Phillies have looked good against them in the second half. Now, am I saying that the Philadelphia Phillies cannot compete with the Atlanta Braves? No. I'm saying when you look at the Atlanta Braves, that's a team with more expectations. That's a defending World Series champion that has a better record than the Philadelphia Phillies and is just a better team, a more ready to win team. And they proved it last year by taking home all the marbles and winning the World Championship. The San Diego Padres. Well, maybe a week ago, I wouldn't have said they were a better team. Now, post trade deadline, though, with Juan Soto and Josh Bell being added to a lineup that just added Fernando Tatis, that is just like Manny Machado's there. They've got a solid pitching staff. That team, when you look at it on paper, is more talented than the Philadelphia Phillies. Does that mean that it's a guarantee that the Atlanta Braves and the San Diego Padres finish ahead of the Phillies in the standings? No, absolutely not. It does not mean that. The Phillies could end up in the first wild card spot, and that's fine. And I would love that. And I think that is absolutely a possibility. But when you start expecting them to be better than teams that on paper or prior to the season or by pedigree are better than the Philadelphia Phillies, you're setting yourself up for disappointment. The Phillies have 30 wins at home this year. They got 30 wins on the road this year. Their 60 wins that they've tallied already are split dead evenly. So, yeah, it's not ideal to go on the road in the playoffs, but this is not a team that struggles on the road. They're good at home. They're good on the road. And would I like to see home games at Citizens Bank Park? Of course. I want them to win every game the rest of the way, chase down the Mets for the division, finish the season with like 100 wins, and go ahead into the playoffs as the hottest team in baseball. But what I also want to see is something I haven't seen for a decade, which is Phillies playoff baseball. And when you start focusing on really lofty goals, it can make the ones that you're trying to achieve that are realistic seem like consolation prizes. This is a proof of concept year. This is make it into the playoffs and see what happens. You've made some additions to get you in, but the Phillies did not go all in. The Padres, yeah, I'd say they went all in. The Braves, well, it didn't seem like they went all in this year, but they went all in last year, and it paid off with them winning it all. Those are two teams that are further along in the progression than the Philadelphia Phillies. And if you beat them, well, it's icing on the cake. But the goal is make it into the playoffs, and wherever the Philadelphia Phillies land, let's be excited because they can compete with each and every one of the teams that are currently sitting in playoff contention. They're a top 10 team in baseball right now. They've got the ability to compete with anybody. Let's just focus on that and enjoy that for the time being. That's where I think expectations should be. And I don't think that makes me scared. I don't think that makes me a bad fan. I think that is the right way to handle this mentally because of, well, what we expected for this Philadelphia Phillies team. Okay? It's kind of like, I'll put it in football terms because we say everyday football terms here in Philadelphia. If the Eagles were supposed to be a 6-win team, like they were last year, and then all of a sudden they make it to the playoffs, they win a playoff game, and then you're thinking, well, this team has to win the Super Bowl. You're going to be potentially disappointed if the Phillies, like, is it fair to think of a team that was originally a 6-win team as a Super Bowl contender when there's a lot of great teams out there? I don't think so. And if they win, you'll absolutely celebrate, and you want them to win every game, but you don't want to undermine how big of a season this is for future Phillies teams and for the organization and for this city and this fan base and what it means for baseball in Philadelphia. And when you start focusing on new expectations before you've achieved the ones you set out to in the first place, it's not a great recipe for success, in my opinion. So that's where I stand. But hey, maybe I'm wrong. And coming up, we're going to do a quick off the poll. And I'm going to ask you a little bit about that in our Twitter poll for today. So we'll bring that up coming up next as we wrap up today's Locked On Phillies. First, though, I want to tell you about BetOnline. BetOnline.net is the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your betting needs. You can find all your favorite sports and events at the #1 online source for odds, lines, and games. You can find reviews and news of every league, including Major League Baseball, of course, the NFL, the NBA, the NHL, combat sports, esports, golf, everything. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all your sports wagering information, from live in-game betting, scores, and podcasts. They've got you covered. Head to BetOnline today or use your mobile device to learn more about the action happening today. BetOnline, it's where the game starts. All right, it's time for Off the Poll. If you're not familiar, it's where we ask a poll question on Twitter. I lay out the poll question today. I posted today on our Twitter account at LO_Phillies. I'll retweet it from my personal account at ConnorThomas975. And then I look for your responses. And in tomorrow's episode, prior to the series with the Miami Marlins, an off night tonight for the Phillies, by the way. Haven't mentioned that yet, but they're off tonight. So they'll play the Marlins for the first of three tomorrow. Well, tomorrow's episode will also see the response to Off the Poll, and I'll share my thoughts fully there. But I'm going to just plain and simple ask you, what is your expectation for the Philadelphia Phillies playoff position? Third wild card, and I'm going to, of course, put the stipulation if they indeed make the playoffs, even though it looks like they're on the way to doing so. Third wild card, second wild card, first wild card, chase down the Mets for the NL East. Those are going to be the options. I think it's going to play out based exactly how the likelihood of those are. And that third wild card is going to have the most votes. Second wild card is going to have the second most. First wild card, the third most. And then winning the division is going to be minuscule, is how I would guess. But I don't know, because my brain was broken by some of the guys on the John Kikay show this morning and what they're expecting from the Philadelphia Phillies and how quickly these expectations have changed and shifted. You can want better things for your team because of you can want better things for your team because of performance, but expecting, maybe I'm not fully in on that. But I want to share my thoughts on the poll once you guys respond. I don't want to bias the responders at all. You out there listening to Locked On Phillies who are going to go to the Twitter account and place your wagers there on what you think is going to happen or what your expectations are. But I think you have a good idea of where I stand on this one. So that's Off the Poll. And of course, the name for that segment, catchy, because it's like hitting the ball off the foul pole. The Phillies hit a bunch of home runs this weekend, none off the foul pole, but they're due to hit that foul pole eventually if they keep slugging at this rate. It's a fun time to be a Phillies fan. That's all I've got for you for today. That's it for Locked On Phillies, Monday's episode. But I will be back with you tomorrow. I want to thank you one more time, though, for making Locked On Phillies your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast. Now make your second listen Locked On MLB. Paul Francis Sullivan, Sully, he's the best. He knows baseball inside and out. He's going to be talking about your Philadelphia Phillies because they're the talk of Major League Baseball, one of the hotter teams in the entirety of the league. He was in Philadelphia this weekend, catching some games at Citizens Bank Park. So check everything out that Sully does over there at Locked On MLB. He's awesome. It's available on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. And with that, well, I will talk to you all tomorrow.